Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to a breath of fresh sports. I am your host, John Piszczek. Excited as always to be here, and even more excited to have you here. And a lot's been going on. Thankfully, the NBA season finally resumed, and we are actually all the way to the conference finals already. And probably the biggest shocker of the conference finals is the fact that the Miami Heat were able to take down the Milwaukee Bucks and earn their first trip to the conference finals since LeBron James was in town back in 2014. And it's really been one of the most interesting storylines of the playoffs. There was a lot going into it. A lot of people said Jimmy Butler wasn't a leader, and here he is with a team dominated by rookies and Bam Adebayo, and they're in the conference finals. The biggest of those storylines, though, being the disappointment by Giannis Antetokounmpo. They lost in 5 games in a series that they were very much favored to win. And perhaps the biggest disappointment of them all was the mere fact that this is now the second consecutive year that Giannis has put up an MVP-type season. They've clinched the first seed in the East. They've dominated the first round. And once again, they are falling short of the finals. No one would doubt that the Bucks are the best team in the East. They've got the Coach of the Year, the MVP, the potential back-to-back MVP, and the best record in the Eastern Conference in consecutive seasons. And what has that translated to? A conference finals trip that resulted in 4 straight losses, and then nearly being swept by the Miami Heat in the second round. They noticeably regressed this year. Once again, Giannis's lack of a jumper stuck out like a sore thumb. And the team that a lot of people picked to win the Eastern Conference once again fell short. My biggest takeaway from the Miami versus Milwaukee series was really sort of Giannis's player comparison. Now, wherever you go, like we as fans tend to compare people, the next Jordan, the next LeBron, the next Kobe, so on and so forth. And there have been a lot of comparisons about Giannis's play style because we've never quite seen anything like it. He has Shaquille O'Neal level dominance, but he brings the ball up like a point guard, plays forward, he's sort of a hybrid, but the only consistent thing is the lack of a jump shot. And I would say most people, the official comparison they would go with is Shaquille O'Neal, simply based on pure dominance. The fact that when he's on, no one can stop Giannis Antetokounmpo from dunking on anyone in his way. But similar to Shaq, there was no jump shot. There was no nothing. But with all of that said, I don't really think Shaquille O'Neal is a fair comparison for Giannis. I don't think LeBron's a fair comparison. I don't think any of these dominant bigs are necessarily good comparisons. When I look at Giannis Antetokounmpo and his tenure in Milwaukee, I see almost the exact same thing that happened to Dwight Howard during his time in Orlando. Obviously, nowadays, with Dwight Howard being a role player who's been bouncing from team to team, it's almost hard to forget what Dwight Howard once was. He was an MVP candidate. He was the best player on a team that made it to the finals, where they were, eventually undone by Kobe's Lakers in 5. But they made it a lot further than anyone would have expected. But the reason I see comparisons between Giannis and Dwight Howard is the roster that surrounds them and the way they are handled in late game situations. It's no secret when you're up 3 or even down 3 late in the game and one of your players is going to shoot free throws. I don't think there's a coach on the planet who would not want their best player taking those shots. When the opportunity was there, the Lakers wanted to get the ball to Kobe. They wanted him taking the free throws. The Chicago Bulls, do you think they wanted anyone but Michael Jordan with the ball with the game on the line? That is not something that Milwaukee Bucks fans can expect from Giannis. Giannis has struggled essentially everywhere 5 feet away from the basket. a lot of teams, rightfully so, should want their best player to have the ball in his hands in a late game situation with the game on the line. I don't think any Bucks fan on the planet should want Giannis to have the ball with the team down 3. It maybe sounds a little barbaric to just say it, so straight up, but Giannis can't shoot. Giannis is one of the only superstars I've ever seen who can consistently airball consecutive free throws. Yeah, every now and then he has a night like he had against the Lakers where he steps in and hits 5 threes. But nights like that are an outlier for a reason. Giannis can't consistently hit back-to-back threes, yet alone 5 a game. And when you really look back to Dwight Howard's run with the Magic in 2009, they took down LeBron James's Cavaliers, they made it to the finals, and they actually had a competitive series against the Lakers. But there was a huge difference between that Magic team and that Lakers team. When there was less than 2 minutes to go in the game, because keep in mind, a lot of those games were close games. The series was only 5 games, but they were close. They were competitive. The difference was the Lakers could give the ball to Kobe Bryant, and they could tell him to go win us the game. When you're down by 6, you can't give Dwight Howard the ball. If Dwight Howard steps to the free throw line, it is a huge liability to your team's offense. And more importantly, he can't shoot the 3. Dwight Howard had 1 3-pointer during his tenure in Orlando. But you look at Giannis. Right now, if they had equal rosters, a team led by Giannis or a team led by Steph Curry. With the game on the line, Steph can go to the free throw line and hit 2. You just don't know what you're going to get from Giannis. You might get 0 from Giannis. And it's sad to see with a player as dominant as he is. But there isn't really a co-star who can step in and close things out for the Bucks. And the reason I'm going to go with Giannis being Dwight Howard more than he is Shaquille O'Neal was because really for the big chunk of his career, Shaquille O'Neal had a co-star who could come in and close a game when Shaq was in foul trouble or simply if the team needed a 3-pointer. He went from Penny Hardaway in Orlando, Kobe Bryant with the Lakers, and then wrapped it up with Dwayne Wade in Miami. There is no player like that who even sniffs the stature of those players that Giannis has played with. And I can say the same for Dwight. Both of their general managers took almost identical approaches to building teams around them. It was essentially surround them with shooters, let them work inside, and we're going to get a borderline all-star to team them with. Chris Middleton's a very good player, but Chris Middleton is not on par with the other co-stars in the league, such as Paul George, Anthony Davis, Klay Thompson, or even Kyrie Irving. Chris Middleton is not that guy. The same way in Orlando, Dwight had a player by the name of Hedo Turkoglu, who was a nice 15 to 16 point per game scorer, but he wasn't a star. He was not a star at all. He was a guy who could come in and shoot the ball well. But that doesn't win you championships. In Orlando, Dwight was surrounded with Turkoglu, J.J. Redick, the same way Giannis has Kyle Korver, Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez. But when you look at that list of guys I just named, can you say that a single one of them is good enough to be the second best player on a championship roster? No. Dwight found out in Orlando, the same way his coaches and GM found out in Orlando, that he was not going to win a championship with Turkoglu as his second best player. The same way I think very soon Giannis Antetokounmpo was about to find out that he can't win a championship. He might not even be able to get to the finals with Chris Middleton as his co-star. As I stated earlier, this is now the second consecutive season that the Milwaukee Bucks season has ended prematurely. Last season, they dropped 4 straight wins to the Kawhi-led Raptors. And then this year, they were nearly swept in the second round. And obviously, you can bring up Giannis' injury. Excuse me. But that didn't happen until Game 4. Games 1 through 3, Giannis was out there I'm sorry about that. My throat was a little raspy. Giannis was out there at least 90% healthy. The difference was, in a close game, the Heat would be thrilled to have the ball in Jimmy Butler's hands. And as I stated about Shaq, Dwight, and now Giannis, can you realistically want the ball in their hand with the game on the line? It seems like they're more of a liability than anything else. Until Giannis figures out his jump shot, I don't think he's ever going to be that guy. Dwight came close, but he was never that guy. The only way you can cover up Giannis's flaws on offense is going to be by acquiring a co-star. Whether that's Chris Paul, who apparently might be available from the Oklahoma City Thunder, or if that's Steph Curry in Golden State. It's just not going to work if Giannis is your top guy and you're feeding him the ball. He's not skilled enough, and he's a late game liability. And I can really see this playing out in one of three ways. They can acquire a co-star in the offseason, someone like Chris Paul, who can actually have the ball in his hands during crunch time situations and actually close out the game for Milwaukee. Because obviously the Giannis Chris Middleton experiment is not working. That's option one. They can trade Giannis with 1 year left on his contract. And yes, that sounds like a seismic trade. I get it. You never really see things of that caliber actually happen, but it wouldn't be crazy if your ceiling is a conference finals letdown. Then really, what are you doing? They could be on the hook to pay Giannis $247 million by the end of 2021. Now, would you spend a little under $250 million on one player for conference finals letdowns? Or would you move on for a team like Golden State who can give you Eric Pascal, Andrew Wiggins, Jordan Poole? They have a lot of assets, and it would definitely be worth looking into if you are unable to acquire a co-star. Then there's option 3, which at the moment I view as the most likely option, which is the Milwaukee Bucks front office, coaches, players, and fans prepare for a third straight playoff letdown next season. I don't think the Bucks are confident enough to trade Giannis. I don't think they have the assets to bring in someone like Chris Paul. And I don't think they would just let Giannis leave empty-handed. I think they're going to extend Giannis. And I think that next season, for the third straight season, we are going to be talking about the Milwaukee Bucks as the disappointing team of the playoffs, because it's unavoidable. Giannis is never going to be that guy in crunch time, and I have a bad feeling that in the 2021 playoffs, the Milwaukee Bucks are about to figure that out for a third straight year. Thank you all so much for watching. It was a bit of a short show today, but this was just one topic I was really interested in. Your support means a lot. Just sitting through this and watching this means the world to me and my editor, Emma. So thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day, and we hope to see you again soon. My bad.